it's just what's bothering me is that being a celebrity sometimes comes with, like, everybody wants to be successful in a celebrity and stuff like that, but it comes with, bull sometimes, and, that's the only thing that I hate about it.
How they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up, get on board, 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 get on board.
If you get aggravated, you're feeding into
made a lie and said that I tried to hurt myself. Chosen Wilkins.
An actor known for his role in the hit television series Empire is facing charges. Bryshere Gray has an assault and battery charge in Chester.
Terrence Howard is finally speaking publicly about what he says happened to Bryshere Gray behind the scenes in Hollywood. According to him, the reality of Bryce's situation may be even more disturbing than what Jaguar Wright has already shared. Terrence Howard has long been vocal about one issue in particular: the exploitation of young black men in the entertainment industry. Based on what is now being discussed, he appears to believe that Bryshere was pulled into environments he didn't fully understand, under the guidance of people he trusted. Terrence has implied that he tried to intervene once he became aware of what was going on. However, by the time the situation became clear, the damage had already been done. According to conversations circulating online, Bryce wasn't just taken advantage of professionally, but was allegedly left emotionally and mentally destabilized afterward. People claimed that after being used and discarded, he was gradually introduced to destructive habits and quietly pushed out of the industry. Over time, many began noticing that something wasn't right, especially as Bryce started getting arrested repeatedly. The first major incident took place in 2020, when Bryce was arrested following a domestic violence case involving his wife. Reports state that she was severely assaulted and managed to escape to a nearby gas station, where she encountered police and described what had happened. According to her statement, Bryce allegedly placed his hands around her neck until she began losing consciousness. When authorities arrived at his residence to arrest him, he reportedly refused to come outside. This led to a prolonged standoff involving law enforcement units and several hours of negotiation before he eventually exited the home. Many people were surprised to learn that Bryce was even married, while others were disturbed by how visibly deteriorated he appeared in his booking photos. He served time for that case, but not long after, he was arrested again and later convicted in another assault case involving a different woman. At that stage, public perception shifted toward the belief that Bryce simply had violent tendencies. That narrative began to change when Jaguar Wright publicly introduced a very different explanation. Jaguar alleged that Bryshere became involved with powerful figures in the industry at a young age, including Diddy and Will Smith, through what was described to him as mentorship.
Bisexual, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed help.
According to her claims, these situations allegedly placed Bryce in inappropriate environments that went far beyond professional guidance. Jaguar later followed up with additional allegations, stating that Bryce's former manager, Charlie Mack, who began working with him when Bryce was just 17, allegedly collaborated with Bryce's mother, Andrea Mayberry, in decisions that exposed him to powerful figures within the industry.
Andy, I'm talking about Bryshere's mom. I'm gonna kick you in your in and I'm gonna go to work North Philly style. Kill. And Charlie, you happy now? He's a gay star. Are you happy now, Andy? For a book that didn't sell. I hope that new husband of yours leaves you. And maybe it's time you tell your son why his father is really in jail, his biological father, for all of his life and what you had to do with it. You see, I'm sorry.
Jaguar said that Andrea once approached her seeking advice about Bryce, and Jaguar advised her to immediately remove Bryce from Charlie Mack's influence, claiming he was the primary connection between Bryce and Diddy. However, according to Jaguar, no meaningful action was taken, and Bryce remained in those same circles. Jaguar also claimed that Bryce had been preparing a lawsuit for some time.
That came to me and begged me for my help. I told her to get the fuck away from Charlie. I did everything that I could do to get Bryshere, to help her get Bryshere out of California into Chicago State to be ready for filming. She knew She knew what Will did to him. But because of Charlie, see? And Charlie had promised her all kinds of things. And all she had to do was pretend to be a broken down single mom who worked her way up through the ghetto and raised a superstar for television, when the truth is, she wasn't nothing but a dealer's. That's all she ever was. She went from dealer to dealer, and then she snitched on whoever she needed to snitch on until she could get to the bigger bag, until she got with Larry Lair, my friend who raised Bryshere in $1 million home. Your whole book is lies, Andy. And I hope anybody that bought it asks for a refund and demands it comes out of your pocket every time they see your son's gate. You and Charlie Mack.
But has yet to officially file it. She suggested that this potential legal action may be the reason Hollywood is allegedly attempting to undermine his credibility by heavily spotlighting his transition into adult content creation, framing him as unstable before he speaks publicly. She further claimed that there may be recorded material involving several high-profile figures, including Justin Bieber, Jaden, Diddy, Will Smith, and Bryshere, allegedly connected to one of these gatherings.
Trying to slay him out so he'll feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present, that tape exists.
Okay.
I really hope none of that baby oil was used on those kids. That would just be in bad taste. Baby oil on babies.
You can't say that the flavor cap was sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. You just come on. Come on.
Starting to sound that way, ain't it?
No.
All that talent, and she let Charlie tune that boy up on knowing that he was bipolar and had ADHD. What kind of mother would do that to her son? Turn him into a prostitute so you could pretend to be something more than what you are, which is nothing more than a filly whore. You're a bigger whore than they're making your son out to be, that's for sure. Because he didn't have no choice. You was down by all. I'm sorry. The Bryshere conversation for me is not easy. Because I came to Belial and I asked Belial to help me save the kids, and all he was worried about was his fucking book.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Don't nobody care about these kids. Don't nobody care about these kids.
As for the lawsuit Jaguar referenced, reports surfaced months ago, just before Bryce launched his online platform, suggesting that he was preparing a $50 million legal claim against Diddy. That speculation stemmed from a blind item hinting that a male victim was preparing to come forward against a powerful industry figure, with the possibility that others could follow. While allegations involving Diddy and Will Smith no longer shocked the public the way they once did, what truly caught people off guard was Terrence Howard revealing that he himself was nearly placed in a similar situation. According to Terrence, Bryce was not the only person approached. He stated that he also received attention that crossed professional boundaries. This surprised many, as Terrence has always been openly heterosexual and firm about his personal limits. He made it clear that no opportunity or incentive would ever change that. Terrence explained that he received a call from Diddy, who claimed he wanted acting guidance for a potential role. It remains unclear whether that role actually existed. However, Terrence stated that once he arrived, it became apparent that the conversation was not about acting. He suggested that expectations quickly shifted towards something entirely inappropriate.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. okay. So then my assistant was like, you know, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman.
Once Terence realized what was being implied, he says he immediately cut off communication. However, he also claimed that even after distancing himself, other industry figures later approached him with similar propositions, offering career opportunities in exchange for personal access. At one point, Bryshere's name came up during these discussions, and Terence made remarks that later sparked controversy.
When you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Now, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So
he suggested that Bryce had never fully recovered from what he experienced, implying that the situation deeply impacted his sense of identity. Some viewers took issue with how Terence phrased his comments, interpreting them as equating masculinity with sexuality or placing blame on Bryce. However, Terence later clarified that his criticism was directed at the system, not the victim. He emphasized that Bryce was failed by the adults around him and described a broader pattern in which black men are stripped of strength and autonomy in the industry, while others are allowed to remain powerful. Terence stated that he refuses to diminish himself to fit anyone else's narrative and believes men should be allowed to exist fully without being reshaped to satisfy industry expectations. Adding to the discussion, Will Smith's former friend and assistant, Bilal, also spoke publicly, accusing Will of placing Bryce in situations that Bryce allegedly did not fully consent to.
Hold them down because he was like, Charlie Mack is not going to be able to be there because him and Charlie had something else going on. I robbed in Chicago for Empire. It's a damn mess. It's no other way to put it. This dude is going crazy, right? He's out there allegedly with male prostitutes. He's pissing in the trailer. He's acting psychotic, right?
The same thing he's doing now.
Beyond that. But this is why a show is going on. I pulled him to the side. I said, listen, I'm here to help you and so forth and so on. So he was like, all right, I feel that. He said, everybody on the set know you. Everybody seem like they love you. Okay. I want to love you because everybody else love you. I said, if that's what you want to do, then do it. But he kept acting up. And then one day I said, what the F is wrong with you? And he was like, you know. He said, you know Will me. You know Diddy made me suck his face. You know what's going on. You know Charlie made me suck. And I said, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. So he crying, no blood is coming from his nose. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I'm like, yo, listen.
At this point, it's clear that Terence Howard knows far more than he has openly shared. Many believe it's only a matter of time before Bryshere speaks for himself. Public reaction has been intense. One person commented that Bryce did what he felt was necessary to survive his career, and that after his show ended, opportunities disappeared until Diddy re-entered his life. Another individual shared an encounter with Bryce at a local dispensary, describing him as visibly exhausted, withdrawn, and emotionally defeated. Now the question turns to you. What do you think really happened to Bryshere Gray? Do you believe Terence Howard genuinely tried to help him? And do you think Bryce will eventually tell his full story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned because this conversation is far from over.